This is my Heisman shot. As soon as I leave here, man, I'm probably going to cut off social media and I'm probably going to just focus on getting that Heisman. Not only did this guy not win the Heisman Trophy, he essentially disappeared. He wasn't even playing. He was nowhere to be found.
Trey Sanders.
Stop it right there. This running back you're currently looking at set social media on fire when he stated 6 years ago he was going to win the Heisman Trophy. I think we can all agree that's a ton of pressure to put on yourself, but what made all this even crazier is the fact he said he was going to win it as a true freshman. It's not like he said this in the heat of a moment during an interview. No. He continued to double down on it. Quote unquote, this is my Heisman shot. I ain't gonna lie to you. This is my Heisman shot. As soon as I leave here, man, I'm probably going to cut off social media and I'm probably going to just focus on getting that Heisman. He said that right after he signed with Alabama as a senior in high school. Believe it or not, it didn't sound nearly outlandish as it does today because back then, he was regarded as one of the top running backs in the nation. Depending on what recruiting site you like to look at, some have it number 1, but 24/7 Sports, who I like to use, they have him at number 2. So I guess you could say that's why he was fairly confident in himself because he knew it and everybody else knew it. He was one of the best backs in the nation and he was a 5-star recruit. I remember it just like it was yesterday. This young man was supposed to be the next great back at Alabama. There was a ton of attention and hype surrounding his name. Next thing you know, you look up and he's nowhere to be found. Not only did this guy not win the Heisman Trophy, he essentially disappeared. He wasn't even playing. He was nowhere to be found. He was supposed to be the next big thing, and it had fans all across the country, especially Bama fans, saying, wait a minute, hold on. What happened to that 5-star recruit that said he was going to win the Heisman Trophy? Where's he at? What most people didn't know is behind the scenes, Trey Sanders was dealing with a ton of problems. He didn't just have one, he had multiple tragic things happen to him in a short amount of time. It got so bad, as a matter of fact, football started becoming an afterthought. It's a sad story. It really is. There's many questions people have been asking about this guy even till this day. But however, it all circles back to the one. And I mean the one big question we're going to try to get to the bottom of in today's video. What really happened to Trey Sanders? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hope all of you are having a great day. If not, hope this video can make it a little bit better. And as you all know, the college football season is right around the corner, which means good and bad news. Good news, obviously. Season's right around the corner. Bad news is we only have a few of these documentaries left to go. I say that to say this. If you have any recommendations for a documentary, story, whatever you want to call it, video like this you'd like to see, leave a comment suggestion down below, and who knows, we might make that video. There's many more things I could say, but I know you guys are ready to get into this, and I am too. So strap in, buckle up, get you a snack, get you a popcorn, get your favorite meal you like to eat when you watch a video, because trust me, I do the same thing. But all right, Matt, blah, 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 shut the crap up. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. Y'all know how we like to do things around here. Let's hurry up and skim past these glory days of high school. Same story, different player. He flat out dominated. Played for IMG Academy, was a 5-star recruit, and had an overall scout grade of 98. He was the second best running back in the nation and the 14th best overall player in the nation. Not too shabby. He was in the class of 2019. It goes on being said everybody and their mama wanted him, but ultimately he decided to commit and sign with Alabama. Great, and I mean great pickup for Nick Saban and the Tide. But it didn't take long for the controversies to start up because after he signed with Bama, this is when he stated he was going to win the Heisman Trophy as a true freshman. Let me emphasize that. He didn't say he was going to win it throughout his career at Bama. No. He said as a true freshman. I remember hearing that back then, thinking to myself, that's just not a wise thing to say, and I didn't know how he was going to do it. I legitimately thought he would play, but win the Heisman Trophy? There's no way. As a true freshman running back for Alabama, you're going to be splitting the reps. And that's best case in scenario. We know how Nick Saban and Alabama like to do things at Bama. Even when they had Mark Ingram, a lot of people forget, but he was splitting reps with Trent Richardson. The only true Alabama back that just played every single down was Derrick Henry. That's it. Everybody else, more times than not, you're going to be splitting reps. Now, it may be you play, for example, let's say 80% of the snaps and the backups play 20, but even at that, if you want to win the Heisman Trophy as a running back, you got to play 95% of the offensive snaps. Like I was telling you in the intro, he doubled down on this multiple different times. So it's not like this was something he said in the heat of the moment. No, he genuinely believed he was going to win the Heisman Trophy. Which, don't get me wrong, I believe in you got to dream big to do anything big. But at the same time, I'm a realist. One thing you need to know about your boy Matt is I am one of, if not the most competitive person you will ever meet in this lifetime. But even with that being said, if LeBron James came to my house and said, hey, do you want to play to 11 in my driveway? Who do I think is going to win that game? LeBron James. It's not that I don't believe in myself. I do, probably more than I should at times. But I live in reality. I don't have a good chance to beat LeBron, do I? Same thing here with Trey Sanders. What was the percentage of a chance he wins a Heisman Trophy as a true freshman at Bama? Less than 0.001 maybe? Continuing along though, he arrives on a campus in 2019, and as a true freshman, he was going to be the starting kick returner. He was progressing really well in the practices. Things were looking great for him heading into that freshman year of 2019, but unfortunately, he broke his foot and he missed the entire season. But no biggie, right? He'll take a medical red shirt and he'll come back in 2020 and pick up right where he left off. He had this huge, long, grueling process of rehab, and finally, he was ready to go heading into 2020. He played in a few games that year, but in the midst of that season, he suffered a major injury. This wasn't on the field, it was off the field. He was involved in a serious car wreck. It was bad, man, and I mean bad. He is just fortunate to be here to this day, and even he's attested to that. He had a ton of internal injuries, a fractured pelvis, and he was in a wheelchair for a while. Here's what the trainer said. I remember distinctly. This one started out with a completely different tone, and I knew right then, this is a major situation that we're going to have to deal with. Continuing along, he had multiple fractures and soft tissue damage, and internal injuries as well. Without diving into what they were specifically, I think that kind of speaks for itself. He had to see a bunch of different hip specialists for it, and here's what one of the doctors had to say. Quote unquote, it was something that if he didn't come back, we would all understand. It was something that even the doctor that fixed him said, quote unquote, I don't really see this in athletes. None of us really knew what to expect. I hope all these quotes just put into perspective how major, and it seems like I'm saying this a lot, but it was that major of an injury. Here's what the doctor had to say about the whole rehab process. Getting up and moving around, firing his core muscles, you can imagine how painful that is after a broken pelvis. Starting to run, starting to lift weights. Those are milestones that hurt, but were necessary, and he had to trust in what you're telling me is right and what you're telling me will make me better. Here's what Trey Sanders had to say about the rehab process for himself. It was really tough mentally to process not being able to play football. There were times where I just wanted to give up on football because I had never been through that before. But that is where Jeremy helped me. There were days when I didn't want to come in and rehab because I was hurting too bad. He always encouraged me, but also made sure I got my rehab done. Before we go any farther, I want to talk on that a little bit. I don't think you're a casual person that's not really into sports and has never been through a major injury understands what that rehab process is like. I have a ton of empathy for Trey Sanders. Myself, most of y'all know, I've been through not one, but 2 ACL surgeries. It is a grueling process, not just physically. I mean, you're in pain and you're hurting, but mentally as well. Because when you're going through rehab and you're out for a year, not only are you going through this pain and hard work, but you're getting nothing in return because you're not able to play the game you love. It's hard to deal with, and that's why whenever you see these professional athletes get nicked up and banged up a couple of times, eventually they retire. Here's the last quote I'm going to show you that his doctor said. He found a way to do it every day. You got to give him credit for that. Regardless of the doctors or me or anybody else that dealt with him or helped him get better, if he didn't have the right attitude and come with his lunch pail ready to work every day, he wouldn't be where he's at. Hold on. I'm going to clap it up to Mr. Trey Sanders. He had to go through not one, but 2 big-time injuries in back-to-back years and rehab both of those. Didn't cry, didn't complain, didn't have a victim mentality. No, he just continued to work hard, and I admire and respect that a ton. So major shout out to you, Trey. And finally, in the year of 2021, this is when he saw some decent playing time. I don't want to say Alabama moved on from him, but it was a situation where, realistically speaking, and Nick Saban even talked about this, Trey Sanders still wasn't 100% and he wasn't ready to go. But even with that, he was good enough to go out there and play a little bit, and here's his numbers. Played in 13 games, had 72 rushes for 314 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was one of the backup running backs that year for Bama, but all in all, it wasn't a bad season. At this point in time, it's just like, man, the fact he's playing football, it's kind of shocking. Well, heading into his junior year of 2022, this is where things got interesting. He was getting healthier, but Alabama also had new running backs coming onto the scene. I love Trey Sanders, therefore it pains me to say this. It's almost like the game passed him by. It goes back to this. It's not anything he did, it's just the injuries. They slowed him down. He wasn't getting too much better, whereas the other running backs Alabama had, they were really good. It was hard to find playing time for him, and in 2022, that's why he didn't play too much. He appeared in 10 games where he only had 14 carries for 80 yards. As you can see, that is a big decrease from 2021. Because heading into 2022, after him having 300 rushing yards, you're like, well, wait a minute, maybe this is like a warm-up year. Maybe he'll have 700 rushing yards the next year. But it didn't happen. And I hated to see him go as a Bama fan myself, but it's what was best for him. And after that 2022 season, this is when he announced he's going to be entering the transfer portal. Didn't really shock anybody too much, because if he wanted to play, he had to leave. Simple as that. He's arguably one of the most likable Alabama players that have ever left the program. Everybody was wishing him the best of luck. He enters the portal, and this is when he announces in 2023 he's going to be signing with TCU. Remember, TCU, whenever he signed with them, was coming off of a national championship appearance. At the time, it didn't seem like a bad fit, not by any stretch of the imagination. And listen to this. Heading into that 2023 season, he was named to the Doak Walker preseason award watch list. They don't just throw up any Joe Schmo Randeezy on that list, so it's not like he was hiding under the radar. You would think, right, with him going to a new school, getting a breath of fresh air, he might have a breakout season. Who knows? I was hoping for that. I thought I was going to thrive at TCU. You can probably tell where I'm going with this. That didn't happen. Last year in 12 games, he had 48 carries for $176 with 6 touchdowns, so that was nice. But on the grand scheme of things, only having 48 carries with 176 rushing yards, not good. As where it stands today, he has a season up and coming, so be on the lookout. He is playing for TCU again in this up and coming year of 2024. I hope he has a breakout year, and this will be his last and final year of college football. He is a senior. The best part about Trey Sanders' story is it's still ongoing and he's still riding it. He still has a legit shot to make the NFL. I don't think he has a great shot like before all the injuries he had at Alabama, but he's still got a chance. He's a big what-if man, because if he never gets hurt at Bama, who knows what would have happened and what could have been. I'm going to remind you, he was supposed to be the starting kick returner as a freshman in 2019. I think I speak for everybody when I say this. Injuries suck, man. They suck. To Trey Sanders, if you're somehow, someway seeing this video, my brother, wishing the best of luck and hope you see a ton of success this year. Let me know your thoughts on all this down below. But Roman,